So,
That is a good question.
well,
Life is crazy.
life
It
is crazy. Life is crazy.
happens fast.
Let me start by wishing you a happy Mother's Day because I saw, God, just joyful moments. You've got 2 daughters?
I do. They're my world. They're everything to me. They bring so much joy. I mean, if you haven't had kids yet, go have some. Especially making them is fun. So
Well, that's the thing. I'm working on that. I'm still am practicing. You're very, very blessed. How old are they?
they're 8 and one's turning 10. So
Oh, you got 2
we're going to
handsome
consider
boys.
her 10. She's
Okay, good.
just a little woman. It's crazy.
Now, you were brought to my attention because we have a mutual friend. I want to say hi to Robin right now. And Robin has an amazing ability to put people together when they belong to be together. And I think there's a huge opportunity here. We'll get into a lot of different discussions, but let's just bring it back to the reason why Robin thought it was time for you and I to have a conversation. You, you're an elite athlete. You excel at a sport that I'm just hearing about and just discovering now called pickleball. Tell me about pickleball because it's tennis, it's ping pong, and I said this to you the other day. I hadn't really seen it until I walked by the local tennis courts and there was somebody out there and I thought, oh, isn't that cute? They're so anxious to play tennis. They've set up their own net. They couldn't even wait for the city to do it. Turns out, no, pickleball requires its own modified version of the net. The rackets were modified, and I couldn't make sense of this ball. It looked like a softball they were hitting. So
Mm.
walk us through pickleball, Sarah Weiss.
Doesn't it just feel good to say? Just pickleball.
Well, and then there's that. Yeah.
Isn't that great? It is. It's got to be the most provocative sport out there. It's first of all, it's called pickleball, and you can get pickled in pickleball, and you can dink in the kitchen. You can bang from the kitchen, bang and dink in the kitchen. It's very provocative.
Sarah, listen, you know
You're
me.
getting hot and bothered, are you?
You've heard me on the radio since the Cool FM days and the Bob FM days. I had no
Yes.
idea that you and I had that, that you would even listen to the show. You know that plays right into my hand, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, I like
Right.
to get you all randy.
Is that a pickleball term too, or is that just you being smart?
No, that's just me. That's just me.
All right.
But yeah, pickleball is so much fun. Oh my god! I say okay. So my ex-husband took me to a court that he thought he was going to teach me tennis on, and we never had been to this court. And he pulls me onto the court. And he's like, "Let's play this game." And we walk on, and he's like, "This something's not right here. This doesn't seem right. It seems small." I'm like, I don't know. You're just gonna hit the ball or what?" He's like, "No, something's not right." And he hits the ball to me, and he's got this like puzzled face on like the whole time. And at the end of it, he's like, "I got to find out what the heck's going on because this is not a tennis court." And we found this board that had a picture of a racket and a picture of a very BDSM looking paddle.
Again, you had me at hello. Wait, hold on.
There we go. Now we're
That's,
talking. Yeah,
that's
not like that. Not like that. No, it looked like this interesting hard paddle.
that's a whole other
Oh,
sport.
that is kind of cute,
That's the badminton of pickleball.
right? That has other uses, but
Okay,
so does the
you
pickleball
need to
paddle.
shut talk with that, I think.
So we went home, we did some research, and we found out that there are like pro athletes at this sport called pickleball. And we two were like, pickleball? Like what?
Ha, 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 right? Yeah.
What is this weird thing? So we did the research. We looked it up. We're like, should we try this? I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, sure. Let's go. I don't really care about sports. Sports were never my thing. I grew up in Canada and I never cared about hockey. My friends would go skating and play on the rinks, and I'd be like, meh, whatever. But I'm like, okay, let's play. It's something we can do together. At least a fun bonding
Sure.
moment. And we got this wiffle ball. So it's not a softball. It's a wiffle ball, like with a bunch of holes in it, hard plastic, and a paddle. So I picked up this stupid wiffle ball and this stupid hard paddle, and I hit it and like instantly fell in love with pickleball. It's
So what
that
was it
addicting.
about the moment you hit that wiffle ball with that paddle then? Because it has to feel different than, when you're playing tennis or squash or any of the other racket sports. How did you know in that moment that this is just something I really, really enjoy?
Oh, man, I don't know the sound of it, the feel of it. I can't really tell you what it was. It was
Mm.
just like love at first hit of the ball. I don't know.
That'll be the title of the movie when we tell the story of Sarah's life.
Yeah. Yeah, no, whatever it was, it got me hooked. And, I was really frustrated in the beginning of it because my ex-husband, who, loved tennis, just kicked my ass. He just couldn't help but beat me up around the court. I'm like, yeah, congratulations. You're real good. You're real good. Can you hit me the ball instead of trying to beat me up? And then he literally, he's like, okay, I'll hit you the ball. He started to like gently, like a teasingly, like, here you go, Sarah. And, a few months later, I was kicking his butt.
Okay. All right. More to come as Sarah explains her sport, pickleball, to us. Chrissy's trying to understand. She says, so you hit it in the net? I have no clue. Played squash and racquetball before. No, you don't hit it into the net.
No, so I guess what you could kind of think of it as is like a mix of tennis and ping pong. So it's like a hard paddle that you're hitting this ball over the net on a smaller tennis court, basically. And obviously, you're not using a tennis ball, you're using this harder ball. So the way it bounces and kind of behaves with the paddle is similar to ping pong.
Yeah, when I walked by that the other day, I noticed it right away. Just the sound of the ball when it gets hit and when it bounces is very, very different. Wiffle ball is a
Yeah.
good explanation. So it's a harder plastic, not as heavy as a softball, but about that shape,
Yeah.
and unbelievable. So how did you end up? Um, you said there are people who play this professionally. You ended up and are, I assume, still a professional pickleball player.
Well, I'm not at the pro level yet. I'm
Okay,
just under it,
all
but I
right.
am I am I was
You're right
accepted.
there. You are an elite
I'm on the
athlete.
cusp. I'm on the cusp.
Okay, all right.
I feel pretty professional about it, but yeah. So I've been playing now for just about 2 years, and I started moving up really quickly. I started like really wanting to get better and better and better. So I found a bunch of retirees, we'll say, and they welcomed us into their group. And they're slow and they're like bionic arms and they're wearing all the gear and everything. And at the time I was 33, and me and my husband go on there and we're just like kicking their butts. We're like, oh, we're really good at this game.
Yeah, nothing like playing against people 3 times your age to give you a boost of confidence when it comes to your athletic prowess.
Yeah, yeah. And then eventually we played some people who knew what they were doing, and we're like, oh, we're
Oh, I
not
see.
so good.
Reality check. All right. But you
Yeah.
really fell in love with this, and I'm intrigued as well by the fact that, I'm based in Ottawa, you're based in Ottawa as well. So, obviously, is there a sizable pickleball community in Ottawa? Because you hear about it a lot in like the southern states, retirement communities especially. You just talked about, you found, some elderly people or older people to play with, and it seems to be a sport that is really, really big with, you know, fit but senior older people. I'm trying to be very careful with my words and not piss anybody off.
So I mean, yeah, Ottawa's been growing pretty fast with it. I've been, part of this for 2 years, and in the 2 years, it's been explosive. The actual now current average age of people playing pickleball, and there is a reported 36 million people in just America alone playing
Wow.
pickleball, saying they've at least played it. The average age is 35. And when you go to these tournaments down south and the big tournaments, you see the 19 plus category, these 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, these big, tall athletes who are coming in hard and fast. Like, the game has evolved. It's not just like, hitting the ball over the net. These people are attacking and going crazy on it. So yeah, it's getting pretty serious. In Ottawa, it's moving up pretty quickly. There's a bunch of places to play. The
Okay.
club I'm at, a member at 2 clubs, and one of them has 14 courts on it, all lined up, 2 rows of 7. And when
Wow.
you get there, it's like therapeutic hearing the dinking, ding, 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 ding
Thinking.
of the ball. It's
I do love the dinking. Sarah, is the pickleball court, because I've seen it played on a tennis court, is the pickleball court set up differently? Is it kind of like a soccer field within a football field, or do you play within the same lines that would be on a tennis court?
So you can put pickleball lines on a tennis court, but no, they don't match up or anything. Like, and the net of a tennis net is higher, so you would tighten it down and bring it down a little bit. But it's
That's
best
why it
played
has their
on
own
its
net too. They have their own
own
play. Okay.
dedicated pickleball court, especially for us pickleball snobs.
Pickleball snobs. By the way, I see that a good number of your friends are chiming in and sending me friend requests on Facebook right now. For people who are friends of Sarah's, if you happen to be tuning this in and you're not friends with me, you can also tune it in on the Blast the Radio Facebook page. If you go to Blast the Radio, you'll see it there, or twitch.tv/Blast the Radio. And if I've done everything correctly, I think I got the stream on a little late, Sarah, but I think we're on now. So people are commenting. There's Rob. He says there's a pro pickleball circuit in the South. Also, a friend of mine loved the game from the first time she played as well. So this has become a real passion for you. And you have been playing in the States as well in some of the biggest tournaments as you climb your way up.
Yeah, and they're really fun. Like here in Canada in Ottawa, the tournaments are getting bigger, but like I think the biggest tournament I was at here in Canada, which was in Kingston, had just under 1,000 people entered. That was the Canadian Nationals. But I just went to a tournament in the States and there were 3,000 players and 40,000 people through the gate at that tournament.
Unreal.
It's getting big.
Unreal. So have you always been an athletic person in your life? Like as a kid, were you athletic and playing sports?
Yes, I didn't. So I played middle school volleyball and I've always loved being healthy and fit. So I've lived at the gym for many years. Like I traded actually as COVID hit, I was training for my very first bikini competition and COVID shut it down. I was so sad. I was crying about that. But during COVID, I traded building my booty for playing pickleball.
So this person that you are in life, by the way, what line of work?
This person you are in life.
Yeah,
that person.
There's so many facets to you. I don't even know where to picking this all apart and putting it back together again, which you're going to have to do.
I'm Picasso.
once you got through high school, et cetera, what line of work were you in? What were you doing before you found pickleball that sort of gave that, I'm assuming, your full attention?
All kinds of things. I've done bikini pickleball. There we go. The good combination. Johnny. Great call, Johnny. Great call. I think you're onto something. Bikini pickleball. Like I could make something happen. But what was I up to? I've always been kind of, very articulate and into sales. I learned a lot in sales. I read all the great books like How to Win Friends and Influence People, leadership books, Think and Grow Rich. So network marketing was a big thing for me. And, any products that had to do with health and fitness, that was always good for me. Like I love being healthy and fit and mentally and emotionally well. So I did a lot of that. I worked some retail. I've started my own companies. I still am a life coach. I coach people, high performance mindset stuff like how.
Sarah, where was I leading the conversation to?
Life
coach stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love it. I love seeing people elevate their lives.
So being a life coach requires you to have some life experience. And so I want to lob another thing into the conversation here. You've also written a book. Which came first, though, the book or your work as a life coach, or were they one and the same?
They kind of came out together. Nerd. I can see the comments, so you're going to catch me off guard sometimes. But yes, so I definitely did the book. Like as I was launching my coaching practice, I was really looking at my life. I was doing a lot of introspection and self-evaluation, getting over the, what do you call it? Like the feeling like a fraud. Like, should I be qualified to teach people how to live their lives? You know what I mean? The imposter syndrome kicked in hard.
100%. In any walk of life, I think, you look back at yourself and go, what makes me an expert? Like I've been in radio since I was 13 years old. I run the #1 website for the radio industry in Canada. I'm on 42 stations, across the USA, including hosting daily on one. I've got my own internet radio station. I mean, I've got shows that are out there for syndication. And yet every single day I'm like, what makes me qualified to speak on any level? Well, that's
we got to remind ourselves that we're badasses,
right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But you're quite a bit younger than I am. So for you to realize, this early on in life that, no, I need to put my thoughts and my experiences already down into a book because somebody somewhere is going to read this and learn something from this and I can inspire. Johnny adds that nerds rule. Yes, we do, Johnny. and then to
Well,
roll that into being a life coach. I mean, so you're mentoring other people. Now, are you mentoring strictly athletes as a life coach, or are you
no.
okay?
I mentor all kinds of people, but I should probably say, how did this book come to be? I was convinced to write it by Les Brown. If you don't know who Les Brown is, I've been following him since I was 16. He is one of the top motivational speakers in the world. He's got an incredible, incredible story. And like, if you look him up, this guy is a big deal. I saw him at an event and I was like, oh my God, Les Brown is speaking here. Well, I'm a super nerd about whatever I do. So I geek out on whatever I commit to. So at the time it was network marketing. And we were at this big convention and he's on stage and I'm like fervently writing everything he says down. And it's lunchtime. So everyone leaves and I'm still in my notepad. I'm like hyper focused, ADHD to the max, like writing, writing, writing. And I look up, everyone's gone. I'm like, oh. And right in front of the stage is Les Brown with two people in front of him. I'm like, oh my God. I just got up and I beelined right to him, like, Les Brown, hi. He
Wow.
looks at me, he's like, girl, you got charisma. I'm like, oh yeah. I'm just like, I fangirled. And he gave me his card. He's like, email me. I would love to talk to you. Long story short, we got to know each other, and at a couple different events I would say hello, and he called me one time after the second event that I saw him at, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, Les Brown called me, and I told him a little bit about my story. He's like, oh my gosh, you need to write a book. And this was on a call, and I was like, oh yeah, everyone tells me that. And like, okay, bye. Next time I see him at the third event, I call him before the event starts. He's like, girl, come up to my suite. And I go and I hung out with him and I'm sitting down telling him more
Sarah,
about my story. You
Sarah, you
relax.
should never go to a
I ain't
swing.
gonna tell you all the details. No. Nothing
We learned
bad
nothing from
happened.
Louis C.K.
It was just a little dinking in the kitchen, some driving and banging.
Perfectly innocent.
Right. No, but he's telling me his story and he's like, I want to interview you. Like, why haven't you written a book yet? I'm like, because I'm not a writer. He's like, get a ghostwriter. Don't give me excuses. Do what you got to do. And I was like, oh, I guess I should do it. And I did call a ghostwriter and I hated what they were doing. I'm like, no, I got to do it. I got to do it. So I wrote this book and I had good editors edit it and make it sound like I'm not like a kindergartner. Because honestly, I'm not a writer, but I have a good story. And it all happened at the same time as I started my coaching company. So it all kind of came together and it worked very well. It was really neat.
I mean, you are not a kindergartner. You are very articulate and you're obviously very smart and you have found your way to unbelievable success as a coach and now as a pickleballer. And you were in, here it comes, Sarah. You ready? You were in Florida where all interesting things seem to happen lately. When was this? Like a couple months ago, I guess.
Yeah, it was in April. So not
So
very
not
long
even a
ago.
month ago. You're at a tournament and
I should have brought a helmet.
and if you had won this tournament, would that have moved you up the pickleball ladder, so to speak?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, everything you do is kind of affecting your rating.
One leads to
So
the next. Okay.
yeah, so my official ratings are, they're calculated by algorithms based on your performance at your tournaments. And I didn't win any medals, but my rating did go up a little bit during that tournament. And it continues to kind of steadily rise closer and closer to my goal of going pro.
And you were playing mixed doubles, correct?
Mixed and women's doubles.
Mixed and women's doubles.
Correct.
Okay. And you're at this tournament and somebody finds something out about you that you already knew, but was inconsequential to you.
Mm-hmm.
But suddenly it became an entire storm.
Yeah, I'm still riding that storm. It feels like I'm not in Kansas anymore. That's for sure.
So, and if I understand this correctly, even your male pickleball partner was not aware of this part of you, correct?
No, and that partner who I was going to play with, I met a year before when I went down to Florida and I was playing some pickleball and he ended up in the same group and he was just like blown away. He's like, "Where are you from? Oh my God." I'm like, "I'm from Canada." He's like, "You need to get down here and play here because this is where the capital of pickleball is and you need to enter tournaments and like I'd love to introduce you to people." And he was like blown away by me and he was such a nice guy. So we ended up playing a tournament in Daytona Beach. We'd play many games together and in Daytona we did all right, but we didn't do that great. Didn't get any medals, but had a lot of fun, met a lot of cool people. I went home a better pickleball player. And then it was time for the US Open. And some news dropped that made him go, ooh.
So y'all are getting to know Sarah a little bit. We've been on the air now having a conversation for about 26 minutes.
What?
I think we can
26 minutes?
I think we can all agree that Sarah is the real deal. She is the real deal. But the revelation that was dropped, and I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off. Sarah, and I know you hate this term. I know you hate this term, and we're going to get into why. And I absolutely, I'm all in for your explanation as to why you hate this term. Sarah is trans.
Wah,
That was
wah,
a big
wah.
bombshell. That was a big bombshell that somebody dropped as you were about to take the court with your partner, and your partner did not know this.
No.
Despite
No.
that close relationship that you would have to have, that symbiotic relationship that you would have to have, you know, being in each other's heads, you know, and it just didn't come up in conversation.
And get this, I stayed at his and his wife's house twice. Once for Daytona Beach and another for that tournament. Like he messaged me all the time with motivational things for athletes and stuff, and we would speak on the phone. Yeah, we weren't just like show up at a tournament, play some games, and go home. We're really close friends. And when oh, thank you, Johnny, appreciate that. When he found out, he called me. And he's like, "Oh my God, I see what's going on Twitter. Like, you got to sue them for personal defamation. This is terrible. You got to prove that they're wrong." And he kept talking. I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa. They're wrong about what?" "Well, that you're transgender." I'm like, "Yeah, well, I guess I am." He's like, "What?" He's like, what do you mean? Like, you were born a different gender than you are currently?" I'm like, yeah, yes, yep. And he just he was stuttering, didn't really know how to handle that. And next day, which was our event, he texts me a half an hour before with this long written out text. And I'll say this: he was really nice about how he worded it, but the context of it was, "I'm going to drop out because I believe we'd be cheating." Yeah.
Now, as a logical, intelligent person, what was your reaction to that? Did you understand that? Was it confusing to you? Sir, I mean, absolutely, it had to be upsetting.
Logical, intelligent? You talking about someone else or me?
No, I'm talking about you.
So it was all the feelings. I mean, at that moment, I was dealing with I was not in a great headspace. I was in a very kind of dark hole mentally.
Well, you were attacked. You were attacked.
If you see what was said on Twitter, and I'm not on Twitter, and I guess, oh, well, thank you, Estelle. I really appreciate that. Yeah, if you saw what was on Twitter, you would see this was dark. This was nasty. About 500,000 people were engaging and sharing and retweeting and commenting. And it was nasty. My God.
And these would be people who wouldn't even be following pickleball. They couldn't describe the sport that you just described a short time ago. They would know nothing about it. They just they are this community on the internet who just latch on to something for God knows what reason. And they just have to take it to levels that are obscene.
It was obscene and it hurt. And I always wondered if I would ever get outed because I mean, I wrote a book, and in my book I do talk about it. And I've
Right. So
done
you weren't beating people over the head with this fact.
No.
You
In
weren't
fact,
hiding it.
I love being under the radar. I just want to live a normal life. As much as I have a voice and I love public speaking, trolls, yes, those things. I love being on shows like this. I am articulate. There is a gift I have, and it's being able to, articulate thoughts and feelings into words that make sense for people. But I don't shove my past down people's throats. In fact, like, I don't even identify with that label that we mentioned, the T word, transgender. I'm not afraid of the word, and I embrace my past. I'm not ashamed of my past. I love me. I really am. I'm comfortable with who I am. I am healthy mentally, emotionally, physically as well. But, when this came out, I was like, yeah, not a lot of people actually knew this about me, including my mixed doubles partner. So when he sent that message, I was upset and I could understand. So it was a lot of mixed feelings, but in that moment I was hurting. So I was like, fine, good riddance. I blocked him on social media and I was in pain. I was
Were
hurting.
his reasons for not wanting to go forward with the tournament and obviously with the partnership, was it because he didn't want to be around that firestorm? There's another word for it. Okay, shitstorm. Or was it strictly he was just uncomfortable playing with someone, um, that is he thought you were born the gender you are now, and he just couldn't handle the surprise? Where do his feelings lie on that?
Oh, there's definitely a part of that being, he didn't want to be a part of the shitstorm, so to say. Who would want to be part of that? I guess the crazy people who did play with me. Luckily, someone stepped up and filled his role.
Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't know that. So you did get to play despite okay.
I did. In fact,
We
I'll
didn't
tell you,
even
it's a beautiful
dive into
story. There's
okay.
so much beauty to what happened at that event. When
So walk
I
us
went,
through it. Give us the Cole's notes.
the Cole's notes being, I went to sleep and I saw this and I was crying and I was like shaking. And the next day that I went to the tournament, it was 4 women's doubles and people were coming up to me like, I saw what's going on. They're hugging me and taking pictures. And honestly, I didn't experience any negativity at the tournament. Well, the day that he backed out, I went to the tournament, deciding I'm not going to hide because I wanted to hide. As soon as he backed out, I'm like, fuck this
Oh,
place.
I get it.
I'm like, I fucking hate Florida. I fucking hate everything. And I was like, I was in a dark place.
For sure.
And people were messaging me and they're like, this isn't who you are. Remember who you are. And I was like, I'm a coach. Like, okay, I got to coach myself here. What would I do if I were coaching me? I would say, first of all, just show up. Just go show up. Get out of your head and show up. And I did. And I made a post saying, my partner dropped out, and a flood of people from Ottawa, tournament directors, and people around were like, let's get you a partner. And people stepped up, and someone came up to me and they're like, I know this guy who wants to play with you. And I was like, I don't even know if they'll let me. So I went, and this is like a half an hour before I'm supposed to play. I went to the tent where you register, and I was like, so this is the scenario. Can I, enter with a new partner? And they're like, you talk to her. And I went and talked to this lady, and she's like, oh, well, typically if someone drops out, you got to have a new partner 6 p.m. the night before. But Sarah, I know who you are, and I know what you're experiencing right now, and we're gonna get you in.
Oh.
And she's like, can I hug you? And she hugged me, and I was crying, got all sappy. And she stepped up and let me play with this new partner, and we had a blast. It was amazing. We won a bunch of matches. We didn't medal, but it was an incredible experience. People were coming up to me to take pictures. I was like a mini celebrity, and nobody confronted me like I thought in my head. Like, if I go to this tournament, are people gonna confront me or my partner or anything? And I was like, I got there. And I'm like, I just want to be invisible. It was
There's
really
nobody
good.
sitting in the audience that was, yelling things at you, etcetera. That's really
No,
wonderful to hear.
thank
That's
God.
amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing. Um, okay, there are so many intricacies to this story. And that's kind of it was that tournament that led Robin, our mutual friend, to say, Sarah, you didn't want to be poster child for this. You just want to be Sarah, mom to 2 beautiful daughters, wife, coach, book writer, pickleballer. You didn't sign up for any of this circus that all of a
No.
sudden was around you. And Robin felt that for some reason I would be a good person for you to have a conversation with. And that's kind of where you and I, got together for the first time. Even it's ridiculous we didn't know each other before because we have so many friends in
It's
common.
wild.
It's
It's
crazy, right?
wild. Yeah.
We live in the same city. You live in the same neighborhood as my parents. I mean, like, and on and on and on and on and on. That's a whole other conversation. But I'm grateful for it because, you felt you felt comfortable right away having a conversation with me. It was like we were old time friends.
Yeah.
But since then, because you hadn't really told your story, you just decided, fuck it. I'm going to own this. If this is what people want to talk about, okay, I'm going to put myself out there and we're going to talk about it. But I know you well enough, even in the short time, to know that you have an end date for this. This conversation about this little whirlwind right now, you have an end date to this, and it's going to just be enough. We're moving on. I want to talk about, though, the conversations that I saw once I was invited into your world surrounding the whole, she's trans and she's playing as a woman. And here we go again. How many times have we seen these stories? Swimmers that are trans, and should they be competing in the Olympics, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And look, I'm not going to change anybody's mind. You're not going to change anybody's mind on this. I hope we can at least bring them a little bit to a different point of view than they had before.
There are 3 types of people, and this is why I have accepted what I'm doing. There are the informed, the uninformed, and the uninformable. There are people who just don't care what we have to say. They're going to stick to their science and facts and their religious,
That's
whatever.
why I chose to not start this conversation by going, here's my trans friend, Sarah, because they would have just been gone in a heartbeat.
Yeah. So, and they're uninformable, and there's nothing I'm going to do to expand their perspective.
And I've met some of them. Just, one comment on Sarah's page. Woo!
And that's even beyond uninformable. Some people just get off on trying to hurt others. It's crazy.
And
but my goal here,
I think is the bigger conversation.
Yes, this has become.
How did we get to a point where this is even a thing? What is the fascination with being able to just destroy somebody? What benefit? Like, why is that pleasing to some people?
So this is where I've found myself now. This really was about me just getting to play pickleball. When I came home, I did a video about it. It got a lot of views on Facebook, over 30,000 views. Just, should I play in female events? I wanted to see the response. And I shared my experience and all this stuff. And then it became like, okay, well, I gotta figure out where I belong. Like, how can I, help and change the people's perspectives just by sharing who I am? Like, how do you hate someone you don't know? You got to get to know me. So once you get to know me, maybe you won't hate on me so much, and you'll get to know that, yeah, I belong in the women's events. But that's just my opinion. But what I've experienced.
No, go ahead.
What I've experienced over this past few weeks, not just for myself, but watching others who are fighting a similar battle, and the youth and the children, this is much bigger than me now. This is not about pickleball. This is not about trans athletes. This is about discrimination and hate towards people that are different to someone based on your lack of education about us. I feel very, very called to stand with love for people who can't stand for themselves. And I am, like I said, I'm in love with this sport, pickleball. It's all about pickleball to me. But I have to do this. This is like my side quest. I'm a bit of a geek for video games. And this is my side quest to stand up for people, because the abuse that is happening, mainly by keyboard warriors in the online space, it's less in person, but
they'd never say this to your face, would they?
No one has. Right? Nobody has.
That's
but what I'm seeing is just despicable. It's despicable. And I now know that the voice that I was given by God, universe, source, whatever you want to call it, I was given.
They're aliens.
Aliens, yeah. The spaghetti monster, whatever it is. Wherever I got this, wherever I got this gift, I know that I have to use it in this moment to stand up for people who can't stand for themselves.
And that's another place that you and I align. I am an absolute believer that things are put in your path when you are ready to deal with them, and you just have to. And for you don't have to understand the why. It's just, and you're obviously wired, as the kind of person who's like, okay,
let's go.
I was on a straight and narrow path here towards, this destination, and all of a sudden there's a curve that I wasn't expecting. It wasn't on the map. Fine.
When does anything in my life go according to plan? Never. Never.
Can we go back though? And I almost kind of interrupted you, and I didn't want to interrupt what you were talking about because of course you're so right and you're so eloquent in what you're saying. But one of the first conversations I was privy to on your Facebook was people saying, "Oh, come on, Sarah, you know why they don't want you competing as a woman? You have the Y chromosome." Do you at least understand where that argument comes from? Is
Sure.
there any validity to that Y
So
chromosome?
So, I don't come on to these and hi Andrea. I don't come on to these podcasts or these shows or my platforms and claim to be anyone in the scientific field or medical field. So, I try to avoid my opinions, but in my experience, the big question is, do you have an advantage? Is on this level playing field, they're calling it. Well, first of all, let me just right out the gate say any pro athlete, they're a pro athlete because they have biological advantage like size, like height, and then they train that stuff. But what I've experienced is many women I play against are stronger than me, taller than me, faster than me. So this isn't about advantages. And if you see me on the court, I'm tall. Yeah, I've got that advantage. 5'10" and a half. That's an advantage. My passion, extreme advantage. It's what's helped me climb a lot of mountains and overcome a lot of adversities. Now I'm using it in sport. It stands out. People see how passionate I am. Definitely an advantage. Am I strong? I mean, I could do about 10 push-ups tops. Like I squeaks out the 10th push-ups. I'm not that strong. I mean, I used to live at the gym, mainly doing like lifting, like to build my booty. But do I have this big advantage? Some senses, yeah, I have an advantage. Some senses, no, not at all. There is no level playing field like people believe there is. And a great example that I love that a friend of mine used is he's 5'8" and he's an athlete and he used to do the hurdles. And his competition were 6'2", 6'3", 6'5".
Right.
You think their hurdles were taller? No, he jumped the same height of hurdles. You call that a level playing field? Now, this isn't me trying to defend my biological advantages because honestly, again, I don't have the strength that many of the women do that I play against. There's this one woman I play against. Oh my God, her legs are like tree trunks. And when she hits the ball, I'm afraid. It's like a guy's hitting the ball at me. Speed, same thing. She's super, super fast. She's as tall as I am. Many of the girls I play against are taller than me. They're athletes. They have this like biological thing. They were born with athletic bodies that they use in sports. So what can I say about that? I've been 10 years with estrogen as opposed to testosterone. What happens is your muscles deteriorate. My muscles are way, way tighter than they ever were. My bone density, if you do any research on this subject, you see all the differences once you do HRT.
And
So
then comes the argument, okay, so this is medically altered, right? And on and on and on it goes down this rabbit hole.
the real thing here though, it's not about that because it's easy to see, especially someone like me. Like I don't have big arms. Like I'm not some like Thor on the court. Like some people like assume like I'm this beast on the court, and I'm not. It's not about that because it's clear to see that I don't have that major advantage. And all my competitors, these ladies stepping up on the comments thread saying, we'll gladly continue to compete against you. You're welcome to play against me anytime. So many of them have commented, thank goodness. And I thank them all. It's not about that. It is about that these people don't see me as a woman. They cling to the you're a man playing in a woman's sport. So it's really
Do you understand where that argument comes from, though?
well, I feel like you do. I would love to hear your view on that.
It comes down to, the basic biology that I think we're all taught, right?
Mhm.
That the male and the female bodies are just differently, that men are hunters, gatherers, we're the ones going out and fetching the food and clobbering, whatever beast needs to be clobbered, and women, aren't, and they're daintier, and this is the fight that we're in at every level, whether, it's just for equality, right? And I mean, I have every confidence, Sarah, that at any sport that you and I were to go and compete in, me being a male, and you being, you are a female in my eyes, absolutely. And that was one of the first conversations. That was one of the first things you said in our first conversation was, John, look at me. What do you see? I said, I see a very attractive, beautiful woman. It's really just that simple. But yes, when you start digging down, okay, and we want to get into the biology, because I think this is just what people choose to hang on to. For whatever reason, it gives them comfort, right? They don't want to get into these conversations like we're having now. They don't want to get into the, how does this happen? How does a person get to this point? It just seems weird to me, and it's just easier for me to walk away from it and ignore it and put up all these walls and excuses and not have to actually listen. What I want my talk content always to be is something that busts down walls and creates conversations. I don't want to be more right than anybody. I don't want to be more wrong than anybody. I want to be engaged in great conversations with great people who maybe can bring my view and somebody else's view to a different place than it was. And if we can have that every day in our lives, because we've gotten away from that, the keyboard warrior, and we all are one at one point or another in our day, we just have to be right. And I gave you the example. Somebody wrote to the radio station I'm on in Florida the other day, very upset with me. And because I said Scott Baio has bought a house in Florida. How dare you mention this has-been? His politics are all out of whack, and he's anti this and anti that, and your person on the air should be fired. First off, they called me a disc jockey, and I resent that. There are no discs, and there is no jockeying going on. I am an on-air performer. Thank you very much. Okay.
The more you know, I'm going to take that down.
But my point is this. People are willing to attack you for any little thing because it just makes them feel better. There, it's done. It's compartmentalized. I don't have to deal with facts. I said what I said. My opinion is right. Your opinion is wrong. Don't come at me with other things. And that's just not what I'm about, Sarah. And I want to talk about you growing up in the body that didn't feel right for you. I want to get to that because it's such an important part of your story. But I can't leave the pickleball thing alone because you've got some better news. This has actually ended in a better place. The organizers, the powers that be in your sport, have actually rewritten or come up with some sort of policy that you're quite pleased with. So where is that at?
Well, it is. Let's be honest. It's baby steps, but yeah. So the founders of the U.S. Open reached out to me. Two ladies who are wives reached out to me. They are the founders of the U.S. Open. They're like, we heard about what happened. We're just so grateful that you still went and had a great time. My book is called Not Born This Way. There you go. So they called me and they're like, we'd love to have you as part of the conversation as we update the policies.
Sorry, you said the two of them are wives. They're married to each other, just to be clear, or they are? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So they reached out and we had some conversations. They asked me a bit about my feedback and stuff like that. And they told me, like, we've always been about inclusion. So, you've got nothing to worry about. We'd love to just have your feedback on this. And they basically piggybacked on, I think it's called the IOC. It's what the Olympics policies are. Basically, it's very simple. They took some stuff out of the old policy, talking about we need to measure testosterone levels and stuff like that, because that's not a great reading. There are women who have much more testosterone than I out there. In fact, I have like none. Again, 10 years in hormone replacement therapy. All the surgeries are done, all that stuff. Again, I'm sure we're going to touch on that, but that's not a great, accurate way to test things. So it's a lot more about case by case. Basically, their policy is inclusion. Transgender women are welcome to play in the amateur and pro level in pickleball. And if there is some very clear disadvantage or advantage that someone comes in and they're new to their transition and stuff like that, then they have the right to deny someone. So it is not where I would love it to be yet. The conversation continues because
it's further advanced than where it was.
Yes, and I'm happy about that. I'm happy that I'm included in this conversation. The conversation is continuing. It's not just ending there. But yeah, we're making progress.
Is that perhaps an opportunity, an unintended opportunity? Could pickleball be that sport that finally just says, we're all welcoming, we're all genders, we all play together? Because we don't have, as far as I know, any sport that is kind of the beacon for that right now, do we?
I don't think so. And the great thing about pickleball is the advantages and disadvantages from, men and women. It's not uh where'd you go?
I'm
You
here.
still there? Okay,
I'm here.
sorry, my computer just went weird. Where is it? Oh, there you are. It's not like it is in, say, like football or basketball. The the top female pro is a 16-year-old. She was 14 when she started winning pro events. A little 14-year-old kicking everybody's butt, and she can kick most men's butts. Obviously, the top men, they're just way faster and stronger, and their reflexes are crazy. So, um, but yeah, I mean, this could be that sport that really does that. Plus, with the rating system, if you're a 4.0 or 4.5, you play with the 4.5s. That's regardless of gender. The top male is the highest rated player. The top female is the top in the female, but is not rated as high as the top male. So if that female plays with the same rated male, they're the same rated player.
Oh, interesting.
Hmm.
Very similar to golf, right? Like if you're a zero handicap, whether you're on the ladies tour or the men's tour, you're a zero handicap. Right? And I'm listen, we have different tees for, there's the ladies tees, there's the men's tees, and then there's the I'm really something special when it comes to golf tees. But at the end of the day, we can all golf together, no matter our level, right? But it's interesting, if a woman can, shoot an 85 and a man can shoot an 85, they're equal golfers as far as I'm concerned. Let's watch the two of them go at it. That's compelling to me.
Hmm.
And if that person that steps on and wants to compete in there happens to be transgender, okay, I'm still watching someone who can shoot an 85 play against someone else who can shoot an 85. That's compelling to me.
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. And, all these ignorant comments are like, you were born a male, go play with the males. And
Right.
honestly, my instant response to all this was like, I just want to play pickleball. You tell me where I'm welcome, I'll show up and play. You want me to play with the men? I'll be the cutest little dude out there. But
But
it would be so silly. It would
okay,
just be a mockery.
that's the natural jumping off point to let's go back to young you. And you and I talked about I've done drag on a handful of occasions, and one of the things that I articulated to you was it's just fun for me to become a different character for a while. And I loved what you said to me. You said, "Well, John, that's how I lived the first how many years of my
26
life.
years of my life. Yeah.
Every day for 26 years, I had to play a character."
Hmm.
Let's talk about that because I don't think there's nearly enough conversation and certainly not nearly enough understanding that someone can grow up in a male body, but in their mind at every waking moment. And it's not because you were exposed to drag queens as a kid. It's not because you were exposed to other transgender people, that
Uh,
didn't inspire Sarah to say, I'm going to grow up and go through hell on earth.
yeah.
Like
People who say this is a choice, I mean, it is
it can't
laughable.
be. It can't be. And I think if
I
you
remember a day where I used to walk into a room and just get respect, instant respect, and people just trusted all the bullshit coming out of my mouth. That doesn't
because
happen
you were male.
anymore. Yeah. Yeah, I
And
miss male
are
white
you saying
privilege.
it's different
I
now
miss
because you're
not
female?
being seen as an object and being treated like a subpar human. Being a woman is not easy, John. I can promise you
That
that.
must be fascinating to you.
A girlfriend of mine, one of my best friends, she's like, "You would be the perfect person to stand up for women's rights because you, more than any other woman, totally get misogyny, sexism, and all the stuff that goes with being a woman because you were on the other side of the coin and you got to lose it."
But would those organizations, would they allow someone like you to represent them?
I haven't tried yet. So,
Okay.
there's a lot of people on different sides of the fence. And
Because
like I said,
you have issues with, like, a lot of the transgender community, just will not have your back on this. They will not stand up for you. What the hell? Why not?
so I didn't have a very enjoyable experience when I first came out and started transitioning. Being a life coach, and I wasn't a life coach at that point, but in my whole life, I've been someone who, I lived 26 years feeling different, and I always felt for people. And I had this major empathy for anybody who felt different, weird, odd, whatever you name it, dealing with stress and all this stuff. And
It's called compassion.
yeah, I got some of that. I
Sure.
loads of it. So, I come into this transition world and I join these groups and I'm like, here I am. And I saw so much stress and these people having a really hard time in life. So I wanted to help and I wanted to be like someone who lifted people up and reminded them that they're awesome no matter what cards they were dealt. So I started to become a bit of I created a following. I had a YouTube channel and people followed me, and it is a toxically negative place sometimes. And this being said, first of all, I want to start off by thanking everyone who came before me that fought for the rights that I now have. The whole LGBTQ plus community that has been through physical abuse, mental, emotional abuse, fighting for our rights. So I have to thank them. So trust me, I'll never throw them under the bus saying that community is bad.
You're
But
right.
my
They're what
experience
got
there,
us to here,
yes, my
right?
experience was I saw a lot of gatekeepers that would treat other transgender men and women in the community like you're not good enough. You don't transition full time. You're not good enough. You don't have the surgeries. You're not good enough. You're this. You're that. Is like there was a mold that these gatekeepers and rule makers, were not being. It was one of the most unwelcoming communities that I've ever been in, and I thought and I still to this day feel it was because so many people, they're living on the defense. They're constantly defending themselves. So it's like they go into this community where their own people are and they're on the offense because it's like, the best defense is an offense is kind of what comes to mind. And it's like, I couldn't be part of it. I had multiple people who I was like mentoring in a way, kind of helping send me photos of them with pills in their mouth saying, thanks for everything. I'm ending it tonight. And I had to call police and be like, oh my God, I
Yeah.
don't know where this person is. I know them from Facebook. Please help me. Oh, well, you got to call the right police
Isn't that the worst
department.
conversation? I've had to do that on several occasions myself. I don't know who this person is. I don't know any and that's the question. How do you know this person? They're on my Facebook. Like, and then there's silence. Well, like, why would you have somebody on your Facebook who you don't really know? Well, because I'm in radio and it's just, people know, and for whatever
It's
reason, right? You're an
heartbreaking.
athlete. It is, and you're stuck. Um, just, ah.
Like you said, lots of facets, lots of things we can talk about in
There
here.
are so
And
many moving parts. Barb, thank you for being here. She says social media is toxic. Forums are just wow.
thank you.
She says you're a beautiful soul, Sarah. Thank you for sharing. Yes, Sarah, thank you. I can't say that enough. Thank you. But what you're talking about with certain communities, and you kind of indicated to me that it was a surprise that wait a minute, I'm not being accepted by the transgender community when I am in fact transgender. It doesn't
Well,
make sense.
there was people who were saying, because I don't identify with the label, because
Right.
I didn't grow up saying, "I wanna grow up and be
Right.
transgender." I didn't even know what transgender was until my mid-20s. It's like, again, the gatekeepers are like, "Well, then,
But
you're a bigot." It's like
and I want to go back to because we started talking about and we didn't really talk about your life for those first 26 years. But I got a little taste of that when I got real dark in depression, when I got really, really bad, and I was seeking any kind of escape. And I found my way into the kink community, BDSM more specifically. And, I just, because pain was an escape for me.
Mhm.
If at least, if I was in a situation where somebody was administering pain to me, I had a reasonable assurance that they would know when enough was enough. I didn't have that same guarantee if I was hurting myself and
Mhm.
it could go too far. But, I kind of felt like, okay, and I could talk openly about this and I wasn't going to hide this because I didn't want it to blow up in my face and have somebody reveal, hey, that guy on the radio, by the way, like I owned it. I owned it. Rightly or wrongly, I owned it. I felt that was the better path. But I really felt that in that community, people would be like, wow, okay, someone who's breaking down the stigmas and the stereotypes, whatever else. No, I end up going to events. They have what are called munches, right? And
Mhm.
they're community get-togethers, and that's wonderful. And they happen at restaurants. They're around you. They are around you, people.
You don't even know
At the
it.
same restaurants, and they're having little meetings. But I sat down at a table, and somebody tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Who the hell do you think you are sitting there?" And I was like, "I'm just sitting at a table." "Oh, that, that everybody knows that table belongs to so and so." And I'm like, "What in the hell are you talking about?" There is this hierarchy. Who put these people in these positions? I don't know, but there was this hierarchy, and I wasn't good enough for this, and I wasn't good enough for that, and, it was just at every single turn, I thought this would be a welcoming community, people who would understand me, and the exact opposite. They did everything they could to really hurt me mentally even more than I was already hurting myself. It was absolutely the wrong place for me to be, and further to that, I have so many friends, in the LGBTQ plus 2S community, who tell me time and time again that regardless of how much work they do and how much, community involvement they have and how immersed they are in trying to better and give voice to who they are and who their community is, the others in that community, no, I don't want you around. Why are we fighting against each other? Why can't we just not that we want to be on teams here, but I mean, in any community, in any successful organization, we champion each other. But it's not happening in your community of of transgender people. It wasn't happening in the community of BDSM people I found myself involved with. It doesn't seem to be happening in the gay community. What the hell is this?
It's a crazy world, and this is why I have this compassion even for the people who are hateful towards me. I see their comments, I see their messages, and I want to give them a hug. In fact, I even say that in comments. I say,
I've
I
seen you
hope
do that.
I hope one day you get a chance to meet me so I can give you the biggest hug you've ever received and you can see that I'm no threat to you or to women's sports.
Well, this
They
is
need
just
hugs.
Sarah just wants to be Sarah at the end of the day and go home to her kids and her husband and her happy little life and work with her clients and inspire and coach. And the fact that this conversation is happening, which I'm grateful for, is because of the fact that some people just can't handle and let you live your own damn life. So let's talk about that life. So 26 years, and I read it on your Facebook again. You were talking about, like as a little as a young person, you would let your sister. I'm trying to be respectful.
I was a little girl.
Yeah.
My gender, so there, the difference between sex and gender. My gender was always female, and I didn't fully understand that. My parents knew as a child, they thought I would turn out gay, but they were 100% sure based off of who I was as a kid. I was not like a little boy. I was like a little girl. I played with girls. I loved my Beanie Babies, and those were my favorite. I had tons of Beanie Babies. I played Barbies with the girl across the street. I was effeminate. I was sensitive. I was like all these things that resembled a girl. They thought it meant that I'd turn out gay. And as I was growing up, I started to like wonder why I couldn't wear girls' clothes. And my mind knew it was wrong. I knew it was wrong. I knew that I was supposed to wear certain kinds of clothes and like certain kinds of colors at a
What
very
a
young
what a
age.
shitty feeling
Yeah,
that must be.
having to hide who you
You
truly
knew
are.
that was wrong, except for the fact that, Sarah, it's not wrong, and
Right.
right? It's not.
No. No. And
You knew, but you knew that society, people who had no vested interest in your life whatsoever,
I can't I
would
just
make your life so uncomfortable because you wanted to wear something pink, or you wanted to have earrings on, or makeup, or whatever.
I wanted to be a little girl. Like, everything that I just identified with it. I like so many people are like, I just don't understand it. Help me understand it. I'm like, you help me understand it because I don't fucking understand it. I don't know. All I know is the thoughts that I had, the feelings that I had, the way that I was expressing myself, the way I identified matched girl, not boy. And then it was exemplified when I went through puberty. At around age 11, 12, 13, those few first years of puberty scared the living shit out of me.
I can only imagine.
Because my thoughts then went just from like, oh, I wish I could wear dresses to, I wish I could be pregnant. I wish I would have a period. I've
Wow.
visualized getting pregnant so often, and I just wished that that was my life. I wish I could
How
grow
old were
up.
you when you were imagining that?
11, 12, 13. And I mean all my life since then. But yeah, once puberty kicked in, and then my sexual fantasies were with me as a woman with a guy, getting married to a man who loved me and treated me like a woman. And that's when I was like, okay, I must be crazy. I need to figure out how to play this role better. And I started doing research. I went on Google and typed in like how to be a guy. Literally, it was like I was doing research on a role. It's talked about, well, guys take up a lot of space. So, when they sit down, they put their arms up and they put their cell phones on the table in front. And it's like, I learned all this stuff. I emulated the guys who were in my life, how they walked, because I walked with this kind of like effeminate walk. And so I learned how to strut, and I learned how to hold myself differently and speak with this deep, manly voice. And like, if you heard my old voice, it was very manly. And like, I got into, I went to the gym, and I like, I took Muay Thai for like, I don't know, 7-8 months. And I was like,
What's Muay Thai?
Muay Thai is a fighting, like a Thai boxing.
Oh, okay.
And so I did all these things to be this thing that society wanted me to be. But in my mind, all day long, all I could think of was living my life the way it is now. I visualized everything that I am existing in right now is how I pictured it as a kid, as a young adult cutting brick with my landscaping company. My mind never stopped visualizing what my life should be. And I had to play this role, and I played it well. But every conversation I had, every single scenario I was in, I was calculating what I had to say, how I had to act, what I had to be. How can I project myself as this person that people want me to be? I started to get afraid of getting drunk in case I slipped and gave someone a clue that I was not who I was pretending to be.
Who
It
the hell?
was
Like
a
nobody.
fucking
Listen,
headache.
nobody in their right mind could hear you say that or hear anyone say that and say, "Yep, that's the life you're supposed to be in." Come on, that's
Yeah.
torture.
Yeah, like, so what? God made no mistakes, right? That's what I hear a lot. Like, that's the life I was meant to live, you think? God did make me, and it was me resisting God. I cursed God. I hated God.
Why do people? Okay, why? And I've seen this happen. So I got attacked on your Facebook page. You had a beautiful picture. It was like the
You did.
first sunny day after like a week of rain, and you just captured yourself wonderfully, right? You got your hair flowing in the breeze, the sun is just kissing your face, and it was just pure joy. And all
Do you
I
know what the quote was? Do you remember what the quote of that picture was?
no,
"Don't let other people's opinions of you dictate your reality." That was the one he was commenting on.
yeah. Well, my comment was, "What a great shot, girl." GURL. And this guy, I have no idea who he is. You probably don't even know who he is. He's found you somehow, and he's just and I wasn't the only one, but anybody who said anything to you, he took it upon himself. "John, that's a man. Fuck off." And and it was like, and he was just attacking every single person like he was God's representative
Yeah.
to set the world, correct on this, etc. And you go to his page, and there he is at his church with his family, and they're in their Sunday best and whatever else, and God is this and God is that. Dude, read the 10 Commandments. What does it say about judging others? What does it say about doing unto, like, if you believe, like, you're picking and choosing here. And this is what drives me crazy about. And look, if you're a religious person, you are a religious person. I don't
Mhm.
begrudge it, but stop shoving your beliefs in my face. Stop telling me that I have to believe what you believe. No, we're adults. We get to believe what we choose to believe is right for us. Just because I was brought up in the Catholic Church does not mean I have to subscribe to Catholicism. And by the way, I don't. right? There's a lot of reasons why I don't, and I just don't align with that. But like they're cherry picking.
Yeah, and I'm not religious, but I do believe in my version of God, and I've called it the
That's
universe, I've
fair.
called it source, I've called it
I
energy,
call
I've
it my
called it
alien overlords.
yeah, exactly, right? But
There is a
I
higher
have my
power. There's
version of
something
God.
fueling all this. Absolutely.
It is who receives my gratitude every morning. Every morning, I thank the world, God, universe. I am so grateful for life and for making me who I am because I did resist. Like, again, like I was saying, I cursed God. I was like, how dare you make me
Sure.
have to deal with this? And just make me wake up normal, please. I just want to be normal so I don't have to deal with this fucking hurricane in my head.
Sarah, that's me in depression. That is me in
Right.
depression. That is
Well,
me in a
so many
panic attack.
people.
Why did you make this happen? I don't know who it is I'm talking to. I
Right.
have to believe that there's some other power out there, something somewhere,
Right.
right? And at the very least, just putting it out to something
Transmit on.
gets you out of, gets it out of your head. So
Yeah.
I get it. I get it.
Aw. Barb, you're awesome. I see you. Connect with me. I'd love to have a chat.
A lot of awesome people around us, Sarah, and it's nothing but love in this house. And I always like to think that my space is a safe space. There's never any guarantee as to who gets through and who says what, but so far it's been civil. I want to invite people, if you've got questions for Sarah, if you want to weigh in and share your opinions, if you're brave enough to let us hear your voice, 613-604-6464 is the number you can call into the show. We'll get you on the air right now. 613-604-6464. So you grew up overcompensating, trying to live up to this physique you were in when, without a shadow of a doubt in your mind, you should have been wearing a dress. You should have been wearing makeup. You living the life that your sisters on your birthday, that was your gift to them. You
Yeah.
get
Oh, yeah. No,
pick
I
your
guess we didn't
brother up
say
and
that.
make good.
I think I was 7. My sister was 6. And this was me I was so smart, so sneaky. I was like, sister,
Oh, yeah.
I didn't get you a gift, but you know what? Because I don't have money, I'll let you dress me up like a doll and you can have tons of fun dressing me up like a doll. And I'm
Not
like,
self-serving at all, was it,
no,
Sarah?
not at all. And I'm like, nice. She has no idea that I'm loving this more than she is,
But
and I always
you lived
stuck around
this male persona to the point where you actually ended up married to a woman, yes?
to a woman. Yeah.
How in the hell does that happen?
Well, I mean, playing this role, and I will say this, I loved her, but I didn't think
I don't even think for a second you didn't.
no, I loved her, but I wasn't thinking about her when we were having sex. Mm. Yeah,
Wow, what? Okay. Wow.
yeah.
Okay, so, is it too I'm trying to be delicate, and I know you told me I don't have to be. Okay, so I'll be bull in a china shop. What were you thinking about then?
No, this is the true mind fuck. I was projecting myself into any woman I had ever had sex with. I projected myself into them, basically feeling like the male that I was pretending to be was having sex with me.
Let me piece this together, wait.
Yeah, piece that one together. I
So
would
you're in a male body, you're penetrating a female,
Yep.
but in your mind, it's the other way around where you actually have
That was like
to imagine
my survival mechanism. Like, if I'm gonna play this role, I have my human needs and I wanna have sex the way I wanna have it. And this is a crazy mind trip. I created this man to be the type of man I was attracted to.
it
I
makes
said
perfect sense to me, Sarah.
quite the standard. Like, when I thought of what kind of man I would want to be with, that's who I made this guy to be. So whenever I had sex, I was projecting my experience into the woman who was receiving him. Yeah, swallow that pill. Mhm.
There's a lot to unpack there, and
Uh-huh.
and I can't imagine what that would be like. As much as I like role play, right?
Yeah, that is some
That
spiritual magic right there.
there has to be. Can I
Mhm.
ask, and I've made the mistake of asking this in probably the wrong language before, so I've learned a little bit, and I'm trying to remain sensitive, and I'm trying to move the conversation forward. But in that relationship, because people okay, let me back it up a little. I think there are a good number of people out there who think of cross-dressing and being transgender as one in the same. I've learned enough to know that they are absolutely very different things. Yes, there can be some, elements back and forth, but by and large, a cross-dresser is typically a straight male who just likes the feel of clothing.
Mhm.
In those scenarios that you just described, where you are having to, in your head, in order to enjoy the experience, imagine that you are the woman. Was there ever any need to accentuate that with, clothing, etc.? Like, was your partner aware of that, or were you able to just sort of really? She's nodding her head. So there was nothing at
Nobody
all,
knew. Nobody knew. I never
even in
told
that
a
most intimate
soul.
situation.
No. Nobody. I didn't tell a soul. The first time I actually so in my early 20s, before I got married, I was like, I gotta explore this. And love is love. Yes, it is. I ended up going on Craigslist. I did a couple Craigslist meetups, and I went
Oh, I
I
know.
went to
Okay.
Walmart and I bought some feminine stuff, and I went and I dressed up, and that was the first time I even experienced some of the thoughts that were in my head. But even at that point, I had not told anybody. Here, come here, honey. Come here. Come here. You want to say hello to everybody? This is my daughter, Rosie.
Hey, Rosie.
She does smile. You smile? There it is.
He does smile. Now, is that your eldest or your youngest?
It's my youngest.
Hey, right on. Cool.
Yeah.
You're so blessed.
Yes, we'll play war after. We're going to play cards after.
We're going, once we're done talking about all of these things, we're going to play war after.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
So yeah, I had these experiences, but even at that, I had not told anybody. And then there was a chance that I got when I was 24, 25. It was really close to when I finally transitioned, that I wrote a blog, and I just let it all out. I told my whole story. Sue says, hi, Rosie. That's awesome. And I let it all out. It made things real, which was scary. And that was the first time. But up until then, no, I had not told anyone anything. But my mom and my grandma, for my whole life, multiple times a year, would come up to me, no matter how manly I got, and said, if you ever have to come out, you have a safe place to do it.
Because you were that kid playing with the Barbies, playing dress up, and they thought for sure you were gay.
Yeah.
And they still had your back. They were they were waiting. Isn't that interesting?
Yep. They knew.
How many times have you had conversations with other people in similar situations to you where they just didn't have that support system around them? How difficult must that be?
So it's part of why I want to do what I want to do with my voice and protect these children, these people, even these adults who have all this family turning their back on them because they don't want to understand it. They have no interest. They will tell their children that around me, you are the dead name. You're going to dress this way or you're out of the house. Like it's nasty. It is nasty. So for me, this is way beyond at this point pickleball, being a trans athlete and any of that. A friend of mine, actually, I've seen her comment. We met today because she had this feeling that she needs to help me create a foundation. So we are in the beginning phases of talking about creating a foundation that is dedicated to mental health for the youth within the LGBT community, as well as beyond that, because that's not the only community needing help and guidance and structure and foundation. The foundation is very much what I'm thinking. People need a foundation and guidance and support and ways
I
to
just put into what you
navigate
said there.
this.
Foundation. I got it now. I'm sorry.
Foundation.
Little slow to the game, but I got it.
Yeah.
No, that's so admirable. That is so admirable. And I love when people step up and try and take a shit situation and make it better. Not dissimilar to what I'm listen, this is how it's a coping mechanism for me with my depression, this RV for mental health that I've got. And one of the first things that I did when that RV got to its first official event, which was our Hugs at Hogsback event, I put the pride flag up. because, I want people, regardless, I just want people to be themselves. I want it to be a safe space. And I absolutely recognize that there are so many people that at the root of their mental health concerns is sex, sexuality, gender, sexual identity, orientation, their
Expression.
fear, right? Their fear of expressing themselves, their fear
Mhm.
of being who they are. And you must look at some of the, like Florida today, just the governor there, DeSantis, signed 4 new bills into law that, I mean, anybody with any, whether you understand transgender at all, whether you understand homosexuality at all, you cannot look at some of these things that are happening and think a country that bangs the drum for freedom and liberty and is all welcoming and this beacon of hope to those who feel oppressed around the world. How in the hell can anybody in good conscience support these legislations that we're seeing happening today? What are your thoughts on that? It must just
It's insane.
be
I'll put
alive.
it this way. I was very dedicated to moving to Florida. Where is your book available? On Amazon. Maybe I'll do something neat. Before I even say, why don't I incentivize people to call in with questions, and I'll say my favorite question, I will send you a signed copy of my book.
Hey now, 613-604-6464, 613-604-6464. There you
Yeah.
go. Can I have a
Um,
I've asked you a lot of questions. Can I get a signed copy of your book?
heck yeah. Heck yeah.
Cool. When I write
You
my
got
book,
it.
I'll get you a signed copy too.
Heck yeah. I love it.
Which, by the way, it's interesting you're right, because I don't even know where to begin with this. And I've dealt with business coaches and stuff too, who are, one of the best things that I was told is, you don't have to write the entire book in one day. Write a paragraph today, write another paragraph tomorrow, and eventually it'll get done. The problem for me, Sarah, is it's all up here. If I were to
Mhm.
speak it into a microphone, I'd have it done in a couple of hours.
Do it. That's
But
what that I did
but
that.
but I'm a purist. I wanna sit down and I wanna bang it out on a keyboard. I wanna type, and I started doing that. I did years ago. I started doing that, and then I lost the file, and I started doing it again, which was probably a better version of the story. But I don't wanna say I made a mistake, but I handed it the first couple of paragraphs I had written, or sorry, chapters I had written. I sent it to someone I know who I respect, who is an author and has published books, and I said, "Here's what I've got so far. What do you think?" Which I allowed myself to have I know,
Don't do that.
I know now, but it's like, and I listened to them because, "Well, I kinda thought your story would start here, and here's how you should do it, and this would be more compelling," because now I'm dealing with an editor, right? It's like, "Yeah, right. Okay, now I can't get it out of my head." So I've taken a little break back from it. Anyway, it's not about me tonight. It's all about you, because you are fantastic and wonderful. But, going back to, and again, we invite your phone calls for an autographed copy of the book, 613-604-6464. Sarah will pick the best question. Don't be shy. And we don't have to use your name. If you don't wanna use your name, that's fine. Um, but you ended up as, you ended up married, and you ended
So
up,
I'm not married anymore.
the few children you have, though, they're
They're
naturally
mine.
yours.
They're mine, and, any thought that I've ever had that has made me think, I wish, because I used to go to the dance clubs, and often I partied. I was always looking at
Were you
the
ever at RJ's Boom Boom Saloon when I was there?
Oh, yeah.
Of course. How did
Yep,
I see? I knew it.
definitely.
I knew it
Mhm.
before I asked it. I knew it.
But I'd be there looking at the ladies dancing with their friends, and it's like I was always so envious. I just wished I was there dancing with my girlfriends in that way. But yeah, like I think my mind's like, imagine I did actually have that life and, didn't go through the male puberty and then, because I've gone through female puberty. I've gone through 2 puberties and both weren't weren't great. Um, but if I did, I wouldn't have my 2 beautiful children. So grateful that it took 26 years, because and I'll tell you, my youngest that you just met, she was 2 months when I finally, oh man, my story, you gotta read my book because there's just so much to this. My wife at the time was at rehab for alcohol. She started drinking after having the second child, and it was bad. Went to rehab for a month, and that's when I was like, "I need to do something about this," because my mind storm of everything was just getting crazier and crazier and crazier. And so I actually went to a support group for the first time, and I went to a counselor, and I finally started talking about it. And I had this big idea that, when my wife comes back, I'm going to tell her. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to tell her what I've been going through. And, she comes back, and I started being like a wifey. I was like, I'm going to clean up for you, and I'm going to do all these things. I'm going to cook for you. I'm going to do all these like wifey chores. And she was very cold and distant. And I think 2 weeks after being back, she's like, well, I'm going to this alumni meeting for the group that I was with for that month at rehab. And she leaves, and I checked the computer history and saw that she was looking for Groupon dates for 2. She came back, and I confronted her, and she met someone in rehab. And to me, that was like, this is my sign. It's time. Now there's nothing holding me back from actually doing this. My youngest was 2 months old. And yeah, I started this freaking roller coaster journey to happiness and peace. Oh my God. Finally, my mind was quiet for the first time in my whole life. I could just.
Wow.
It's amazing. Freedom.
We've got a call on hold right now. We've got a couple of questions coming in. Are you ready to take some calls and
let's do it?
Conversations. Johnny, go ahead. You're on with Sarah.
Hey, Johnny.
Hey, Sarah. Hey, John. How are you guys?
Sexy as always.
Well, I'll vouch for that. Sarah. It's electrifying. Sarah, first off, kudos to you. Question I have is, when you finally started to unmask, let's call that, was there a particular person that you were really scared to tell? That really, really bothered you, that you were
all of them,
how they would react?
All of them. I hung around the tough group. We were, it was these guys I grew up in the country, and it was all mud and trucks and rednecks and tough guys and all of them. And it was the same amount of nerve-wracking anxiety for everyone. I did it individually. I did it with all my best friends. So I'm like itching because I remember how nerve-wracking it was. Every one of them, it just felt icky to talk about. And they all had a very similar reaction. They're like, are you messing with me? Is this a joke? Like, what? And pretty much all of them turned their backs on me. So yeah, it sucked. It wasn't fun.
Oh, I am so sorry to hear that. That's terrible.
Well, the trash took itself out. Those aren't real friends. And I am grateful. There's a lot of people right now who have a hard time leaving behind the people who are holding them down. For me, I got a blessing. They left themselves.
True. They're the ones who lost. And I can tell you that now, because you're a fantastic lady, and what you're doing is absolutely amazing. I think I said it one of my comments. My guitarist is trans, and she went through a lot of things too. So kudos to you with what you're doing.
Thank you so much, Johnny.
Promised I wouldn't use real names on the show, and then of course, Johnny's actually in my phone directory, so my inclination. And Johnny, I know you're cool with it, so thankfully, it was you and not somebody else. Oh gosh,
it's all good, man.
Tell your guitarist that I got her back. Tell her she's awesome for me.
I will do that. I'll pass this message on to her. Thank you.
Always appreciate it, Johnny. Always great talking to you. All right, let's get to some of your questions. Here's one on the screen. Graham wants to know, Sarah, my question. I appreciate your ideas on how can I support a friend on their journey.
That's a good question. I like that. All right, you're jumping up the list here. So it's like I was saying earlier, a lot of people, they say, I just want to understand. I don't even understand it. So the less that you try to understand it, the better. It's going to be weird. I don't know how far along they are in their journey, but it's going to get weird. It's going to get weird. I'm renting a room to one of the only people who didn't turn their backs on me. He's an incredible guy. He's like my best friend. I remember I called him up one time and I'm like, this is going to be weird, but can you come over and sit on the couch while I practice my female voice with you?
Things you don't even think of. And that should have been an obvious one for me. Duh.
Right. You
And
know,
that's the second
I
time you
didn't always sound like this.
That's the second time you brought that up, by the way. Okay,
Yeah.
so how does the voice happen, Sarah?
So there's a lot of training, a lot of training. I had to train my larynx to. So if you think about it, like think of a beer bottle and you do the toot toot thing.
Yep.
You know, the more space in there, the deeper it sounds. The less space, the higher it sounds. You could train your larynx to tighten up so that the sound coming out of it, the resonance is different. It's different to going high pitch, like you can go high pitch and it sounds like this, but that's not what we're looking for here. So I had to
You
learn.
have a very authentic feminine voice.
Oh, I thank you.
You do. I mean, like nobody would know unless they knew, you know? But the training, I guess, that would have been involved for you to find that. Had you discovered that in your younger years, or was it once you decided, no, I need to live authentically as Sarah, that then you started working on it? When did you find your voice, literally?
Well, it took some training. You know, when I first started, like, so I have a YouTube channel that I've pretty much completely privatized, and I unprivatized a couple. Just had surgery. Okay, that's good to know. If she's just had surgery, go help her. I was alone in my recovery, and recovery is not fun.
Okay,
Go
help her
bring
out.
her some food. Go bring her some food. She's probably stuck in her bed right now, having a hard time getting up. Recovery takes a year of very uncomfortable stuff, we'll say. Be there as much as you can, because a lot of people are so uncomfortable with it, they don't even know what to do. It's like I've heard people compare it to like when they got cancer, a lot of people kind of backed off because no one knew how to handle it or be around and be a good support for them. The more you can be there and just show her that you're there no matter what is going to be huge, huge, huge.
You describe the discomfort. Is it obviously there's some physical aspect to it, but are you describing the mental aspect of it, the physical
A
aspect of
lot of
it?
it, a lot of it physical is very it can be painful, so you gotta dilate. Yeah, that's fun. You gotta shove things up a hole that never used to be there. We'll end it there. It's
No,
not
I mean, I appreciate this, and these are conversations I don't think are being had anywhere else.
fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, no, recovery, it's a lot of it. And it's like you got to do that multiple times a day for a long time.
So you need to train the body to become what it is now being told to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause it wants to heal up, it wants to close up. Yeah. So,
You know, I get it. Again, Sarah, with all due respect, it's one of those things that,
never thought of that, did you?
I've considered what would be involved in the surgery, but on a very, you know, basic level. I mean, obviously, things are altered, changed, whatever else, and that's kind of been. I never even gave pause to
Yeah.
consider that. Wow.
Yeah.
So there's a
And
physical aspect, there's a mental aspect.
yeah. And another, way that you can support her is just tell her she's beautiful as often as you can. And this is for all the men out there. Tell your girl she's beautiful as often as you can, please. I I got back into the dating world and it's like I have to tell all these guys, like, tell me I'm beautiful, please. Can you please do that? I like it. I really like to hear it. It's just but yeah,
You are beautiful, by the way. There's no question in my
thank
mind.
you. And
Not in the minds
it's
of anyone.
not it's not that I'm like I need to be reminded for my ego. It's just it's
No, I
nice
know.
to know that
Mm.
your man thinks you're attractive. But as a friend, you can still do it as a friend and just remind her that she's beautiful. And it's not even just about looks, it's just about her soul, her personality. Just right now, she is dealing with a lot of it's scary. It's scary, and it's nice to be grounded by somebody who cares about you beyond whatever crap you're going through. It's nice to be grounded and pulled back down to earth because right now she's probably in her head thinking about all the craziness she's about to endure. Because I know I was. I don't know how many people turned their back on her. There's a lot going on there as you're stepping into your new life, your new skin, your new personality, and the hormones and everything that changes. Going from testosterone to estrogen. Wow. Like, so I went through female puberty where there were pains and itches and mood swings, and learning that crying didn't mean I was sad. It was just a reaction that I had because of the estrogen. I cry a lot now, all the time. But in the beginning, during my female puberty at age 26, it was confusing. It was very confusing. And I was kind of alone on it. I didn't have a friend group as a teenager to talk about these things and stuff like that. And I have a monthly PMS. I don't have a period, obviously, but I do.
I am loving this conversation so much because this is so educational. I think, I think on a very basic level, as much as I think I understand this, as much as I understand, because I immerse myself, I like people who are different. I like learning from our differences. I like celebrating those differences, and I try at all aspects of my life these days. I try and lift people up, but as many conversations as I've had with people, I've never even gotten into this conversation about the surgery. And in my mind, on a very basic level, I would think, okay, I recognize, I've gone through all the therapy, etc., and it has been determined that absolutely I'm in the wrong body here, and we can get this to a better place where I can live more comfortably with myself. And hey, once I have that surgery, it ain't that easy.
No. And that process. So your friend who went through surgery, the crap she had to go through, like I had to see a psychotherapist and counselors and all this stuff before they would even send me to an endocrinologist for the hormone replacement therapy. As if this was some brand new news. Like I knew my whole life that I was a woman, a girl growing into a woman. And I was, at this point, when you accept it, when you step into this world and it's like, okay, I went to my first support group and I was scared. I was like, and I'm an outgoing social butterfly. I'm sitting on the chair, hugging my knees like, oh my God, this is real. And they come to me like, hey, what's your name and what's your pronouns? I'm like, I don't even know what to say. It was very nerve-wracking. And as you're starting to let go, it's like, okay, I spoke and I shared and everyone's like, we love you and all that stuff. Now I have to go through, what was it, 3 months or 4 months of psychotherapy, where in the first couple sessions, they're like, yeah, you're actually very emotionally and mentally stable and grounded. And you are who you say you are. But we have to follow protocols, and this is going to last 4 months.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So we can't prescribe you anything or send you to anything. You have to continue to come here and basically waste your time and our time saying the same things over and over as we ask you these questions and dive deeper and deeper on something we can already tell. They told me straight up, we can already tell that you're a woman. Like,
so that's interesting to me. So by doing that, you're basically placating people then? It's satisfying there. Well, at least they went through, this protocol. They're not just doing the surgery willy-nilly to anybody who just decides on a whim that, hey, I'd kind of like to live in a whole other physical, existence.
Yeah. No, it was frustrating. I got impatient. I was starting to get depressed. It's like I'm being forced to follow this crap, and I'm sick of seeing this person who's telling me I cannot move forward because I have to follow a stupid protocol, even though that person knows that I need to be on this medication. And I ended up finding a place to ship it from Thailand and started sticking a needle in my butt to do it myself.
What?
How safe was that? And I told him, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm already injecting myself. I ordered from Thailand. And he was like, wow, we're going to have to end our sessions. And I am not referring you to an endocrinologist. That was the response. So I had to do my own.
What, like go to your room with no dessert? Was that punishment? What was the purpose of that?
That's what it seemed like. Yeah. So I had to call endocrinologists myself saying, here's the scenario, here's what's up. And I found one who was like, oh my God, that's so wrong. Yeah, no, we got you. We got you. So luckily I did get taken care of, but not everyone has the kind of fortitude that I do to get through this stuff. It's not easy.
You're unbelievable. God, I'm so glad our paths have crossed. Someone wants to know, did you have the surgery in Montreal?
I did.
Is that kind of where that kind of surgery is done best?
So the healthcare one. So I don't know if it's the same now, but our OHIP covers that surgery. And it's done in Montreal. Yeah. So people fly in from all across Canada. We are all human to love and be loved. I agree. Thank you,
Dave,
Dave.
thank you for that comment. Sorry, to your friend, to Graham's question regarding their friend who's just going through the surgery now and their needs. Barb says, reminder, you are her safe space and peace. Some of our littles go through the same formalities and protocol, even though they are screaming at them. They know who they are inside. To out, sad, no one listens. Well, Barb, that's why I'm trying to have these conversations as much as I can.
And this brings up Florida. And I have a lot of friends who live in Florida and who are very like, Trump, and are like, these schools that are making it safe to talk about and da-da-da-da. I'm like, that's a bad thing? What? I wish I had a safe place where a teacher said, hey, if you have any questions about your gender identity and expression, you can talk about it here, and we will open you up to resources where you can actually explore this. God, like, how can you be against that?
My understanding of school was always that's where children go to get the basic skills they are going to need to live life and exist in the world that is around them. Well, the world that is around them is full of different colored people, is full of different gendered people, is full of different political stripes, is full of different religions, is full of different ethnicities, is full of different beliefs. And to, I mean, we're setting them up, love it or hate it, agree with it or not, by removing it, by throwing a blanket over this and choosing to ignore it. You are doing such a disservice for your children, who I know you're well-intentioned and trying to protect, but they're going to end up in a place in the real world at some point where it's like, a gay person? What? No. I mean, you might as well be telling them that, this is an actual alien you're talking to. It'll be just that foreign to them. It is insanity, the
It's funny
conversation.
because some of these people, it's like they think you can force a child to be transgender. It's like they're indoctrinating these children and forcing them, and no, a child's not gonna just go, oh, well, you're telling me that I should be transgender, so I guess I am. No,
Sarah,
that's not.
I'm a straight white, blondish haired, blue-eyed guy. Okay, but I am who I am, and I'm naughty and raunchy and sexually aware, etc., and try and be friends with as many people from different walks of life as I can. But all this to say, why are there so many misunderstandings of this? Why, like the people that are trying to make this go away in some way, shape, or form, in your experience, and you've certainly had different experiences with them, and probably more of them than I have, are they themselves like, are they the one, like the people who are like, oh, gay men, blah, gay men, you're gay and you need to go to church and God. Are they not the same people, in your opinion, who are actually going home and watching lesbian porn and they're okay with that?
Probably. I don't know. I really
what's really going on in the homes of these people that they
the question that keeps coming up to me, because like there's governments that are really trying to eliminate the transgender community. It's really so. I just ask, why would Hitler want to get rid of the Jews?
This to me is exactly where we're at right now. It is pure hatred and elimination. It like, Sarah has no impact in your life unless you are in Sarah's life. She has no impact.
It's insane what the media.
I have no impact in your life. So I mean, if you don't care about me because I'm the aforementioned blondish, blue-eyed, white straight guy, I have no impact on your life unless you and I are in each other's absolute inner circle. Well, same applies to Sarah. Why does it matter? I don't understand. And what is the fear? What is the fear?
Crazy.
And,
well, I mean, in the athletics, I understand why they're like, well, we don't want you stealing from women, basically. And we've already had a bit of that conversation, but the conversation continues. But what the media is doing to create this and generate this hate and discrimination is insane. Did I send you that link to a post made on Instagram? about talking about how the media was saying transgender woman beats out 14,000 women in a race.
No, I don't
She
think I saw
came
that.
like 6,000 and something place in the race, but they didn't say that.
No. Makes it sound like she came in first.
To the point where people were screaming to give back her medal, a participation medal that she got for
Yeah.
being
She showed up.
6,100th place.
By the
But
way, the only awards I ever won in gym were participation.
I would pick you first for any of my dodgeball teams.
No. Yeah, I'm the first one out in dodgeball every single time. I don't understand the fear, the hate, and and I see it all the time. Like drag queens are under attack. And like I said, I've dabbled in drag. I've done it like twice. Okay, I'm not a drag queen. I've done it twice, and I was terrified to do it because I didn't want my friends in the gay community, because that's predominantly a gay community thing. I didn't want them feeling like I was, taking on something that I shouldn't be taking on. But overwhelmingly, they said, "Are you kidding? This is for everybody. Go and do it." So I see, I'm very sensitive. And look, if all you've seen is one video of a drag queen in a room and there's a child putting a $10 bill in that drag queen's G-string, if that's your only understanding of drag, I get why you have this fear. But let me answer the meme that I keep seeing on Facebook every now and then. I'm sure you see it too. We need to start instead of questioning why children need to be entertained by drag queens, maybe we need to start asking the question, why do drag queens feel the need to entertain children? And I just find that attitude so repulsive. Okay, why do magicians feel the need to entertain children? Why do clowns feel the need to entertain children? Why do puppeteers feel the need to entertain children? The answer is simple. Children are freaking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And they're fun to entertain, and their reactions are. And you know what? A drag queen to a child is nothing more than someone who's dressed up in an overly exaggerated, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
This attack on that is crazy when you consider how many priests have done some very bad things, and hey, nobody's attacking the churches. I'm not religious, but I believe in my version of God. But when I have these comparisons pop up into my head. Sorry, I don't know where they come from, but hey, that just came into my mind. It's like, why are something's not adding up here?
I have said that before, and I would love for you to correct me, or not correct me if I'm wrong, but certainly I'd like your opinion on this. When I try and explain it from, all that I learn from these conversations, people don't pick how they're oriented. They don't pick like Sarah. Sarah always knew she was Sarah, even when she couldn't be Sarah. She knew. And
my name was Sarah since I've been a kid.
And I want to get to how you picked that name, but my question is this: Is it really as simple? The analogy that I use, is it really as simple as it's no different than if you're looking at a container of Neapolitan ice cream and there's chocolate and there's vanilla and there's strawberry. For some inherent reason, you're drawn to one of those flavors before the others. It's not that the others are bad, but you are naturally programmed somehow to be oriented towards one of them. Is it really that simple?
Well, I used to use colors. Like, what's your favorite color? Why is orange your favorite color? Did you pick it to be your favorite color, or was it just your favorite color? Why? What was the psychology? I'd like to understand why your favorite color is orange. It just is. Right?
Another question, by the way, and again, if you've got a question, 613-604-6464. I know Sarah has a card game that she needs to get to with her daughter in a little bit, and I don't want to keep you any past 9 o'clock. I asked you for 2 hours, and we're almost at the point, so let's get these questions in. Sarah's written a book, and she'll pick somebody who asked a question, and you're getting an autographed copy. It is available on Amazon. Again, the book is called
Not Born This Way.
Right. All right. So here's the question for this person who's texted in. I can't call. I'm using my phone for the live. What advice would you give your younger self being who you are today?
I would not touch it. I wouldn't go back. I wouldn't say anything. I would let it play out.
Which is kind of what happened. So you're saying then that this was as Perfect. It should have been.
It was as it should have been. I mean, I could have, like, I've had these thoughts of, like, imagine I knew that it was that what if I went back and said, "Do it. This is who you are. Stop denying it." What would I have gone through high school? Would I have even made it through with all those rednecks and stuff? I wouldn't have my children. I wouldn't change a thing. I really wouldn't change a thing. If anything, I would go give myself a hug and say, "No matter what, you're loved. I love you. Love yourself. You're worth it. You're amazing. Never question it. Never doubt it."
The person who texted in, by the way, is upset that I didn't use their name. I'm allowed to use their name.
Yay.
Thank you, Barb. Appreciate you a lot. Sarah, in the final minutes that we've got here, and I'm so grateful for this conversation, and thank you for choosing to have it with me. I appreciate that beyond words. But this is not indifferent to the conversations I'm having in my BTRV for mental health. And I want to find out, first off, where are you today? You're married again, yes?
No, I'm
Oh,
divorced
okay.
again.
All right. My apologies. I misunderstood that.
No, that's okay.
Okay. So,
I was married to a man who I'm still friends with. We're actually still very close friends. We speak regularly.
Okay.
Yeah, we just so it was a COVID marriage. He's from Florida, and it was to get him up to Canada. And if that we wouldn't, I don't think we ever would have gotten married if that wasn't the case, because we realized that it was 3 years we were together, and just
Okay.
we weren't supposed to be. So
My apologies. I was wrong on that. I thought I
okay.
had read something that you would
I'll learn
remarry.
to forgive you one day. One day
Yep.
I will.
Okay. All right. The lineup forms where? To the left, the right? Where do people apply for the job, Sarah?
Join the line. Yeah.
Do they have to be good at pickleball? Is that a qualification?
I mean, it's becoming one. Yeah. I mean, it's something that it's my life. I mean, between my kids and pickleball, that takes up all my time, and these calls, obviously, and friends and stuff. But pickleball is life. Hashtag that. Pickleball is life.
Pickleball is like, I think Barb has a little crush. She's floating the fact that she's single right now.
I am straight, but I will entertain you, Barb.
There you go. Sonia says, having Sarah as a friend, acquaintance, mentor will only be an asset and a blessing in anyone's life. You're amazing. See, Sonia has been on my friends list for a long, long time. Sarah, Sonia, I know, and I don't interact, but it is incredible how many people, have been around and just, again, the universe put you or me in your path, you in my path. For some reason, it was meant to be, and I've really appreciated this conversation. But as I always end things on my podcast for mental health, and this applies here, I think I'll throw this up on that podcast channel. What keeps you hopeful today, Sarah?
What keeps me hopeful?
Yeah,
just the fact that I have a life. I mean, when you think of all the different combinations of DNA sequences and genes to become who you are, like, it's a lottery. It's a lottery of all lotteries. The fact that I get to wake up, look out my window, see the sun, see that, like, there's so many opportunities for joy and happiness. I mean, I am the bunny. I am hopping along, and I am jumping on every opportunity that I have to enjoy this existence. I've spent a lot of time asking why. Why am I here? What is the point of all of this? And the only thing that I can really come up to is to just experience it. It's just to be in the moment, be present with what's in front of you. So I have two eyes. I have the ears that I can look around and take in so much beauty and joy and color and smells. And that is all I need to be grateful for my life. There was a moment in my life where I was a victim, and I hated life, and I hated everything. And I didn't take responsibility for my life. I thought it was because of all the people who turned their backs on me, and God cursed me, and all this stuff. And I remember the moment that it really shifted was when I remembered to be grateful. And I'm in this bedroom. It had bed bugs, and it was in just above ghetto townhome. And I'm a single mom of two. They're young. I'm recovering from surgery. This was at that time, and I was on welfare, and just life sucked. And I'm like, I need to find my gratitude, because this is not a way to live. This is not what I want for my kids. I want my kids to come up and see a powerful mother that can give them the tools and the support to create incredible women in life. And the first thing, I looked up and I saw my doorknob of my bedroom. I'm like, okay, let's practice this. I am grateful for that doorknob. Why am I grateful for it?
it started with a doorknob.
Started with a doorknob. And
you've somehow had the intestinal fortitude to see that and go,
Yeah.
this is my starting point.
It was the starting point. It's so funny.
Sarah,
And it hit so hard. The first thought that just rushed into my head was, because every single morning your daughters open that doorknob to come and love you. I was like, oh my God. I hated that bedroom with a passion. And at that moment, I got to look around and their art's on the wall. I get to look at their art every day and know that they're with me. And I just looked around the whole room and I found my happiness in the gratitude of just looking at what was in front of me, getting out of my mind and all the shitstorm that was happening based off of all the life that was and the what ifs and my future this, my past that. In the moment, I was so present with a fucking doorknob. And I just started bawling.
I mean, I'm laughing at it. It's not funny, but it's pretty. That's pretty incredible. You know, the doorknob. I love the imagery of that. And I love how it speaks to just, you know, you get to the bottom. You get to the bottom, and one of two things is going to happen at the bottom, right? You're going to stay there and never get to the top again, or you're going to bounce. And holy shit, have you bounced? I mean, you are the pickleball. You bounce in weird, wonderful,
I'm the bunny.
different ways. The fact that you found your way to pickleball is absolutely incredible. I said I would ask you this question. I forgot just as you were talking, and it sort of popped into my brain. Oh yeah, stupid! You forgot to ask her. Why Sarah?
Yes. I don't know. But as a kid, I would hear someone go, "Hey, Sarah," and I would look, and it was like, "Wait, no, that's not you." And I never chose it. I never ever chose that name. Nope.
You've disappeared from the screen, but we can hear you just fine.
It's like it chose me. That's as lame and weird as that sounds. I just always identified with the name Sarah as young as I can remember. It was just my name.
Isn't that interesting?
It's a trip.
And based on, this would be my final question, based on the number of Sarahs I've known in my life, you had a choice to either put the H on the end. Why did you opt
I love you, John. You're awesome.
I love you too. You're fun.
I'm too lazy for an extra letter.
I got shit to do. Don't get in the way of my life.
These are ew.
That is so amazing. Sarah, I thank you for wanting to have your first official. I know you've had plenty of conversations. If people are not following you on Facebook and social media, they absolutely should. Your life coaching is second to none. Your pickleball is just fun. And you just, you know, the way you talk about life and you know, the reality of it and the way you break this down so simply and matter-of-factly, I think is so wonderful. And we need more of this. And the universe obviously wants Sarah and I to wrap it up because they're, you know, the image goes away, the audio goes away, the image comes back, the audio goes back.
God.
Where do people connect with you on social media, Sarah, please?
So I would say that Facebook is, you know, my main platform. I guess we're going to the old camera. So Facebook is my main platform, but I'm working with a YouTuber who is a major gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender ally, and he rides motorcycles, and he's got a big following based off of, you know, a video he did where a cop pulled a gun on him, and then he created this big story and influence. A lot of people follow him on Facebook, and he did this video about how he went from transphobe to trans ally, and his parents actually know me and they connected us, and he's like, you are incredible, and he wants me to piggyback his influence, so he's teaching me how to do shorts and reels and stuff, and he's been crafting for the past week and a half a video about me where he's also going to talk to me, but he's putting all these videos because I go live on Facebook very often. So now YouTube's I've unprivatized some of my old videos so you can see old me, past life me.
Really?
Yep.
That's brave as hell.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's different.
What's it like to go back and see that again? Because I know it's like, watching movies. You know, here's Christmas 1982.
It's weird. It's weird. I sound very different. I look very different. That side of me, I left behind. I left it. I privatized everything, and I had a big following. I even was on a reality TV show. I don't know if I told you that, but I manifested.
No, that'll be conversations 2, 3, 4, and 5.
We'll bring it up on the next one. But yeah, so he's helping me do stuff on YouTube, and I put some TikTok videos out. It's got my first one that I just did about all this has over 6,000 views and tons of lovely comments. So yeah, so TikTok, I'm on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Facebook's my main platform. I try to go live almost every day to kind of bring people along this journey and just let them get to know me. I'm not here to fight and be this like hardcore activist and stuff. I just want people to get to know me so they can not hate me. And actually, not everyone has a Sarah in their life. Not everyone's lucky enough to have someone who they can learn this stuff from, right? So
I love that.
Yeah.
And I'm right up there amongst your biggest fans, Sarah. You're just so real, and we need more real, and we just need more open and honest conversations about this. So one of these days I'm going to meet face to face. I'm going to get that hug from you that we've talked about.
It's so sweet.
I am squishy. I am unbelievably squishy. I don't see us playing pickleball anytime soon, so I'm sorry to let you down on that. But from the bottom of my heart, really sincerely, thank you for wanting to be part of this. Thank you for getting me back to conversations, to talks, and let's do more of these. Yeah, Barbara's saying that we need more of these conversations. Sonia says she looks forward to us two chatting again. So let's do this again. Sarah Weiss on Facebook. The book again is called
Not Born This Way.
And you said you're going to pick your favorite question and award somebody an autographed copy of the book. What was your
Easy for
favorite
me.
question you got tonight?
It was how you can best support your friend.
All right. That was Graham. I will
Graham,
put you in touch if you're not
let's
already.
do it.
All right.
Definitely.
Sarah Weiss, thank you. Go play war with your kids. Remember, let them win.
No. I don't want to take away their opportunity to lose. They need that lesson.
I knew that you, the listener, viewer, would enjoy this conversation. I really hope you did. It's called Talks with John Milkey. Sarah Weiss, much love. Thank you again very, very much.
I love you all so much, John. You're the best. Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. Bye, Sarah.
Bye.
How do I end this now?
Just
End
I'll just sit here
broadcast.
smiling.
Okay, that was smooth, wasn't it?